The coronavirus has changed everyday life as we know it.
The healthcare system really is struggling to keep up with demand. There are makeshift hospital wards being set up wherever possible, even in hospital car parks.
I know that some people in the last few days have already lost their jobs.
There's no doubt that this is going to be very deep for specific segments of the economy.
You will not face this alone.
Originating in the city of Wuhan, China, the virus is suspected of transferring to humans from wild animal meat.
Chinese authorities have said the wild animals are the potential intermediate hosts of the coronavirus. To prevent an outbreak like this in the future, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress adopted a ban on wildlife trade on Monday.
China banned the wild animal meat trade in February to mitigate the spread of the virus. Vietnam is considering similar measures. There are currently close to 400,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus worldwide, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. More than 17,000 people have died, and more than 100,000 have recovered. Italy, the country hit hardest by the pandemic, is on total lockdown. It is the first democratic country post-World War II to take such a stringent measure.
The only concrete and valid measure to be taken was to close these territories.
Schools across the world, including New York City's, the largest public school system in the world, are closed.
It's day one of at least a 6-week school shutdown, and families are working to navigate a new normal.
We're just going to have to figure it out day by day.
While the severity of the virus pandemic is unprecedented, it also shines a light on other issues, including climate change. Since the decrease in travel and activity, the planet is seeing a noticeable decrease in greenhouse gas emissions. What would happen if we took the same approach to climate change as we are now to coronavirus? In 2018, the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change said that the world has 12 years to make unprecedented changes to all aspects of society to decrease the impact of climate change.
The report clearly states that the world has already warmed by 1 degree centigrade due to human activity, and as a result, climate change is already affecting people, ecosystems, and livelihoods around the world.
Governments must work together to prevent global temperatures from rising below the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold. Even a half a degree rise in temperature could worsen droughts, food security, and poverty worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, climate change is expected to cause unnecessary deaths over the next 30 years, due to issues including malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and heat stress. The climate crisis could set off a chain reaction of ecological disasters. The 6th mass extinction event is already underway, according to experts. A study in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences calls it a biological annihilation that represents a frightening assault on the foundations of human civilization.
And it's going to sound the alarm, if you like, on how bad off the environment is right now. Even if the report can't actually say it, experts say humanity is in the middle of a 6th wave of extinction, this time human-caused extinction.
We can see the anger and passion directed at authorities for not taking action from youth activists, including Greta Thunberg, Ugandan climate activist Vanessa Nakate, and co-founder of climate change-focused nonprofit Zero Hour, Jamie Margolin.
So when I realized that it was such a big threat, I found out ways to bring it to public awareness in my country, and that's how I found out about the Fridays for Future strikes, and I decided to start the climate strikes.
I wouldn't be organizing, and I wouldn't be doing this, and I wouldn't be sacrificing so much if it weren't so urgent.
We are getting bigger and bigger, and our voices are being heard more and more, but of course that does not translate into political action.
Thunberg sparked a global movement that culminated in more than 4 million people worldwide marching in climate strikes last September. But the 17-year-old pointed out in her speech, there's been little action on the part of leaders. She pointed out that young people skipping school to protest the climate crisis is not a sustainable solution.
We don't want to continue, so we would love some action from the people in power. I mean, because people are suffering and dying from the climate and ecological emergency today, and we cannot wait any longer.
What can be done to mitigate the climate crisis? While fossil fuels are a major talking point, a growing number of experts are looking at agriculture and the impact of eating animal products.
A move to more balanced diets could help us adapt to and limit climate change. Some diets require more land and water and lead to higher emissions than others. For example, diets that are high in grains, nuts and vegetables have a lower carbon footprint than those that are high in meat, and they lead to better health outcomes.
According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, animal agriculture is responsible for 14.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. In contrast, a plant-based diet is far more sustainable. A 2018 Oxford study found that adopting a plant-based diet is the single biggest way to reduce your carbon footprint. It is far bigger than cutting down on your flights or buying an electric car. Agriculture is a sector that spans all the multitude of environmental problems. Really, it is animal products that are responsible for so much of this, said Oxford University researcher Joseph Poor.
1.3 trillion litres a year of milk we will be producing in 2050, or we're forecast, if we don't change trajectory, we're forecast to be producing, and 500 billion kilograms of meat per year. And these are staggering numbers.
Land use could be reduced by more than 75%, an area equivalent to the US, European Union, China, and Australia combined, by removing the meat and dairy industries while still feeding the growing global population. The coronavirus outbreak has shown that we are capable of reacting quickly to a global health crisis. Air pollution and carbon dioxide levels in some cities and regions have dropped significantly since the virus began impacting travel and social interactions, according to researchers in New York City. Similar changes were discovered in China and Italy as commuting slowed and more people began to work from home.
The reduction of emissions is particularly visible in northern Italy, which coincides with its nationwide lockdown to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
Experts estimate that this will bring China's overall emissions for the year down by 1%. Corinne Le Carré, a professor of climate science at the University of East Anglia, believes we could see an overall reduction in emissions for the year. It will depend on how long the pandemic lasts and how widespread the slowdown is in the economy, particularly in the US. But most likely, I think we will see something in the global emissions this year. If it lasts another 3 or 4 months, certainly we could see some reduction.
We've seen with the drastic measures that China has taken with regard to corona that emissions have gone down seriously. So people are working from home, manufacturing has slowed down. So these are the kinds of drastic measures that we will have to take for climate change, and it's better to do it kind of sooner rather than later because it'll be more painful the longer we wait.
But others believe that the reduction is not a total victory. I won't be celebrating if emissions go down 1% or 2% because of the coronavirus. Rob Jackson, an environmental scientist at Stanford University who chairs the Global Carbon Project, told the Los Angeles Times, "We need sustained declines, not an anomalous year below average." New York has had exceptionally high carbon monoxide numbers for the last year and a half. Professor Roisin Kaman from Columbia University told the BBC, "And this is the cleanest I have ever seen it. It is less than half of what we normally see in March." Will the silver lining to the coronavirus be an increased awareness about climate change? What do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. As always, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. New videos every Tuesday and Friday.